So this is Darcy's Corner. It's May 6th. This is my second time trying to record this because I get lost in the rambles sometimes, but I don't want them to be too long. Even though this is YouTube and not TikTok. TikTok I've only got 3 minutes. These things I got however long I want, I guess. But anyway, talking about the queer Christian experience and how a lot of Christians are being taught in their churches, in their synagogues, they're teaching their children essentially to hate us, to fear us, that we can't coexist together, or that you can't be queer and Christian at the same time, or that being queer is anti-Christian in some way. There's nothing wrong with loving Christ and being queer. There's also nothing wrong with not believing in Christ, by the way. If your belief system doesn't involve Christ, okay. Live long and prosper, whatever your thing is. Go do it. Nobody indoctrinated this into me. I knew when I was 3 or 4 years old that I was a girl sometimes. And growing up, right up to age 10, I kind of thought I was a little bit gay because I didn't know how to explain what this was. The reason I didn't know how to explain what this was is I had no examples around me. I wasn't allowed to say gay in my household. And there was just no place to go to get this information. We didn't have the internet back then. Well, now we do have the internet. And last week there was a class in my church, and they were talking all about how everything basically is pornography. And so don't let your children look at cell phones. Don't let your children look at Facebook. Don't let your children read the books at school, heaven forbid, because everything is pornography. And then they showed you how to tell your kids that everything was pornography. And it drives me crazy, that way of thinking, because that way of thinking is why I didn't tell anybody when I was a kid what was going on inside me, because I couldn't. There was no safe space to explain it. There was nobody to tell. I had no resources. Don't do that to children. And you can't keep this information away from kids. You just can't. I mean, eventually they're going to find out the information. I wish I could have found this out when I was 10. I wish I could have found this out when I was graduating high school. And you mean that's what those thoughts in my head mean? I'm a girl on the inside. I should try it and find out and see how it feels. And this is great. Let's go explore this. I could have been me decades ago, and my voice wouldn't be this deep. My shoulders wouldn't be this broad. My face would be different. If you do this in your late teens, early 20s, your body is silly putty then. The hormones and things, if you swap them around, they can work miracles. The younger you start. The older you start, the more mixed your results are. And how many years of my life have I lived as the wrong person now? Because that information was hidden from me. And when we took that class, it made me cringe. Because I'm not allowed to be an activist there. And I'm not trying to be an activist there. I promise you, I actually love Christ. And I actually feel the Spirit. And if you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. But I do. And if you are a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, there's a good chance you have felt the Spirit. You've probably felt it. And it does feel wonderful. And it's great. And it's amazing. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there is something wrong with trying to hide life from children, and trying to hide it from yourself and go, well, there's no, everything out there that isn't this is pornography. That's not true. And it is true that there's a sexual aspect to femininity, just like there's a sexual aspect to masculinity. There's a sexual aspect to it. And if you suppress all other forms of expression when it comes to gender, and you're suppressing that person's gender expression, if that person's a male and but inside they're female, or the other way around. Female inside their male. It's all going to go to sex. You know why it's all going to go to sex? Because it has no place else to go. And whatever that part of you is that's you, that needs to be expressed, needs to come out. It wants to come out. It wants to exist. And so that's why it'll go to the sex thing, because that's private. And that's separate. And other people don't see that. You're forcing it there when you don't give it other forms of expression. You can't just suppress this forever. And if you are trans and you get the dysphoria, it is crippling. It is disgusting. It is horrific. And it is worse when you're looking at a face like mine and a voice like mine and it's not what you want. My face is looking more and more like what I want every day, but it's not there. And my voice is terrible as far as a woman's voice goes. And, anyway, I'm not trying to trigger myself, which I can do, okay? If I dwell on my negative traits, it's this downward spiral. And it is absolutely torture to do that to a person. You wouldn't do that to a person on purpose. You wouldn't do that to someone you love. These people who say I would rather my child kill themselves should not be parents, should not be anywhere near kids. You cannot indoctrinate children to be Christian. You can't do it. It's wrong. I talk with people who have had their parents indoctrinate them as children, and they absolutely resent all of it because they weren't given a choice and it wasn't what they believed, and they feel very much so that they were abused their whole lives, and they were told that they were evil and of the devil because they didn't believe the Christian ethos. No, a belief has to be a choice. Anyway, if you're watching my Darci's Corners, that's great. And just know that you can't force beliefs into people. It doesn't work. And you can't force genders into people either. I could never make you be trans or queer. If you are trans or queer, I could never make you be straight either. We are what we are, and what we need from humanity is acceptance and compassion and freedom of expression, whatever that is, with the exception of hate. That's where freedom of expression, you draw the line. Also, when it comes to outing people, you don't want to out kids to their parents if they're not in a safe environment. And you don't know if they're in a safe environment, so that's why you don't out them to their parents. You don't want to out adults. If you know of an adult trans man or a trans woman, and they successfully transitioned so that you can't tell, but you happen to know because you grew up with them or they confided in you at some point, okay, fine, but you don't go sharing that information because you could be putting that person's livelihood or life at risk, and you don't do that. These are very perilous times for us. There are hate rallies in Calgary and Toronto, and they're going to be in Edmonton and Red Deer, and they'll be in a city near you soon if they aren't there already, about people like me calling for my eradication. Because I'm of the devil and I'm corrupting children. Understand something. We do want to educate your children. We don't want to recruit your children. We want to free your children. We want the straights to know that we're here and we're safe and it's okay. And we want the queers to know that we're just like you. One time, I was a kid and I was queer as a kid. And you wouldn't have known it because I wouldn't have told you. But I might have told somebody if I felt safe. I might have told somebody if I seen somebody like me. I wish so much that somebody would have told me what this was. The gay, the trans, all of it. When I was like 10. or even younger. When I was 4 years old and 5 years old, and I had the thought in my head that I was a girl sometimes, it would have been nice to know that other people had that thought too, and I was just like every other kid. In fact, when you are a little kid, you think you're just like everybody else. Like, don't other boys think about being a girl sometimes? No, they don't, unless they're trans. But I didn't know that. So I thought all boys thought that. Didn't everybody think that way? Trans kids think that way. So yeah, every trans kid thinks that way. But we didn't know who each other was. Anyway, this is Darcy's Corner. This is my ramble and my concern on current states of queerness in Alberta and Canada. I don't think I'm going to post the first one because it wasn't very good. I'm going to cut this one off because it's already too long. So, Darcy's Corner. Peace.